Hey there, and welcome. Have you ever tried to learn something new? Like a language or maybe some new skill for work, and you just feel completely stuck? Well, today we are going to dive right into that feeling and unpack a really powerful method for learning just about anything. It almost always starts with this one single feeling, doesn't it? You're looking at this mountain of new information, and you have absolutely no idea where to even start. It can honestly feel like you're just staring at a solid brick wall. And yeah, sometimes that wall looks exactly like this, just a raw list of words and concepts. Seeing something like this, with zero structure or context, is enough to make anyone just want to close the book and walk away. But what if there's a smarter way to climb that wall? Okay, so how do we tackle that wall? We've got to shift our perspective. Instead of trying to smash through it all at once, we're going to borrow the mindset of a really patient teacher. The kind who knows that real understanding happens one single step at a time. And the secret to this whole method? It actually comes right from our source material. These aren't just little tips, these are the instructions for deep, lasting learning. And the most important instruction of all, you see it right there at the end. Do not rush. So let's break this down into 3 simple keys. First, you define the core meaning, then you find its family of related words, and finally, you have to see it in context. Let's see how this actually works. All right, let's put this whole method into practice. We are going to go intentionally slow here. I know it might feel a little counterintuitive, but trust me, building this strong foundation is exactly what lets you speed up later on. So let's just grab the very first item from that big wall of words. It seems simple enough, right? But let's apply our 3 keys and really see what we can uncover here. First up, we define the core. So the word appeal can be an action, like a lawyer making an appeal to a judge. But it can also be a quality, like a beautiful painting having a lot of appeal. Understanding this dual meaning is absolutely the crucial first step. Next, we find the word family. Appeal is the noun or the verb, it's the thing or the action. But when we want to describe something that has that attractive quality, we use the adjective, appealing. So the lawyer makes an appeal, but the idea itself is appealing. See that little switch? That's the key right there. And finally, context. This shows you perfectly how it's used in the real world. A collocation, which sounds like a fancy word, just means words that like to hang out together. So when you hear that something has wide appeal, it's a super common phrase that just means a lot of different people like it. Learning these phrases is just as important as the word itself. Okay, let's do that again, but this time with a concept that's a little more abstract. This will show you how the method works even when the ideas aren't things you can physically touch. First, the core definition. Spirit is the non-physical part of a person. It's not something you can see or hold. It's the essence of who they are, their energy, their character, their soul. Now for the word family. Check out the difference here. Spirit is the noun, the thing itself. So someone can have an adventurous spirit. But spiritual, the adjective, describes something related to that spirit. A spiritual journey is a trip that's all about the soul or your inner self. One is the thing, the other is the description. Okay, so we've been practicing this in slow motion. Now for the really cool part. Once you get the hang of this, your brain starts making these bigger connections automatically. You start to see the whole picture. So let's look at our next group from the list. Mayor, municipality, and mayoral. You can totally see how they're all part of the same family, right? A mayor is the person leading a city. That city is the municipality. And anything related to the mayor's job is mayoral. They all belong to what's called a semantic field. Think of it as a topic group. In this case, that topic is local governance. Next up, enforce, dictate, impose. These words, they have some real weight to them, don't they? To enforce a rule is to make sure people follow it. To dictate terms is to lay them down with authority. To impose a tax is to force people to pay it. What do they all have in common? The shared theme, the semantic field, is all about control. Now how about supervise, oversee, and monitor? These 3 are like close cousins. When you supervise someone, or oversee a project, or monitor progress, what are you really doing? You're watching over it to make sure it's all going right. They all fit neatly into the semantic field of oversight. Here we have an interesting group: imposter, pretender, and imposture. So an imposter and a pretender are both people who are faking it. They're pretending to be someone they're not. And the act of doing that, that's called imposture. They all live in the same shady neighborhood, the semantic field of deception. And our last example from the list, fatal and deadly. They both describe something that causes death. You could have a fatal mistake or a deadly disease. They both point to the same ultimate negative outcome, so their shared semantic field is all about that final, irreversible consequence. So you see what we've done here? It's way more than just learning a few words. We've actually built a toolkit. We've created a reliable method for turning that confusing wall of raw information into structured, connected knowledge that actually sticks. So this is your new toolkit. Just remember the core ideas. First, give yourself permission to go slow. That's how you build a strong foundation. Second, always be on the lookout for word families, not just lonely single words. Third, context is your best friend. It's what unlocks what things really mean. And if you do that, you'll start seeing those bigger themes connecting everything.
And look, this method isn't just for vocabulary. You can apply it to learning history, a science concept, a piece of code, pretty much anything. So the only question left is, what's that next big, intimidating wall of words in your life that you're now ready to conquer?